Bob Costello of CISA, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining me. You were telling me before we turned the cameras on that you think there's a lot for you to like about the OneGov initiative GSA is undertaking. What's the matchup for you there?
I think there, as you said, there is a lot to like. And, first and foremost, it's really great as a chief information officer in the federal civilian executive branch to be able to work directly with the OEMs and the cloud providers and the software providers on several initiatives. So as these OneGov initiatives are being announced by GSA, I'm ensuring that my office is stepping right up, looking at them, see how it applies to our technology, and then embracing it for how we can modernize very quickly. We've had very encouraging discussions with Amazon, Microsoft, and several others on their OneGov work, and then being able to start consuming it to modernize our systems, improve our cybersecurity, but most importantly, improve our effectiveness so that we're delivering good quality solutions for the people that have to operate CISA systems and ensuring that we're spending the American people's money wisely.
It's interesting to me that the first thing that a tech guy would want to talk to me about is an acquisition issue. I think people don't think about the synchronization among all of those things in the C-suite often enough.
I think that's a really good point. And I was kind of joking with some mentees the other day. And, when I was coming up, I always wanted to be a CIO. I'm like, that's got to be the job that it is. I didn't realize I would also have to understand acquisition, programmatics, the budgeting cycle. Like we often budget 2 years, 3 years, 5 years when you get into that type of programming, that future looking initiatives.
Yeah.
So a big part of my job is actually contracting, acquisition, ensuring that we're running those programs efficiently, effectively, that they're delivering value. And that's a total partnership. I always call our contractors partners because we are in a contract together. We have to fulfill both sides of it. But most importantly, we have to make sure as the payers of the contract that we're getting exactly what we've paid for and that everyone understands how the contract is performing.
What's the benefit that you get in that direct dialogue that you talked about with the vendors that you're working with on OneGov, through OneGov?
Absolutely. I think it all comes down to, no matter how much we talk about technology, AI is the next thing. There's nothing better than what we're doing right here and now. And I believe that's in business relationships too. The more steps between you and your supplier can cause problems. It can cause opaqueness, confusion. So this ability to engage directly, I think helps them understand our requirements better. It helps things move a lot faster.
You used a word there too that triggered another thought in my mind. You called them suppliers rather than vendors, and it strikes me you have greater visibility, I bet, into the supply chain that they're delivering to you, and whatever service or product they're delivering to you, you have greater visibility there. Is that a fair assessment?
It is, absolutely. I actually was on a supply chain conversation earlier, and it wasn't about how do we do this in a technological fashion, but how do we build partnerships and trust between the consumers and the suppliers and the people that rely on the products that are delivered. So I absolutely think that, open conversation is one of the most important things. It's why I'm super excited. My workforce, through several changes recently, one of the things we've noticed first and foremost is being in person drives innovation, drives a different type of accountability and understanding of what other people are working on. And I believe that's in business relationships as well, too. The more we talk, hopefully the more we actually understand what's going on in both worlds and can, work together better.
All right, different kind of supply chain I want to ask you about, and it's my favorite acronym in government, the Software Bill of Materials, the SBOM.
Absolutely.
Where do you stand on working on those kinds of things and ascertaining that you've got one for each thing that you're working on at CISA?
That's a really great question. And I'd love to be able to sit here and say I'm the CIO that figured it all out. I haven't. It's a complex problem. And I think there are correlations to what's happened in other supply chains as we've matured them through big events. The pharmaceutical supply chain is rightly so very strict. We often, I wake up in the morning of that age now, I got a few pills to take. I don't question that those pills didn't go through a process to be manufactured potentially enter the country through our Customs and Border Protection and the FDA. There's a lot of controls on manufacturing and that process. We understand the ingredient list. What we're trying to do with software is very similar, so that you understand how your software was built, the provenance of that software, and through open source as well too. Sometimes your supplier may not exist anymore. Maybe you're using something that, Bob Costello developed 10 years ago, and you really like that software library. Bob stopped maintaining it 8 years ago, but it's still working in your system. That's all part of the big complexity of SBOMs, or software bill of materials. We did just recently, earlier in September at CISA, release some guidance around this, and that was actually co-sealed with 18 other government agencies as well as international partners. And I think it's a great reference guide around understanding SBOM, and also just how we apply supply chain to the tech universe.
You're at a really interesting pivot point, I think, in government, Bob, because you're the CIO, obviously, of CISA, so you're responsible for their technical operations. But since you're inside CISA, you see things that are valuable to technology and security leaders all across government. What kind of perspectives does that give you, do you think, on the problems, not just that you have, not just the challenges you have, but that your colleagues all throughout the CIO community and the CIO Council are trying to work on right now?
That's a really great question. And at first, when I've been at CISA now officially 4 years, 4 years last week of August. And one of the things that I really try for my office, and we talked about this at several recent conferences. We were out at Black Hat, Chris Butera and I, explaining what CISA's been up to. One of my big motivators is that my office should serve as an example to other CIO offices. That doesn't mean that me and my team are always getting it right, or we have no problems. I have problems like everyone else, but that we try and apply the principles that CISA wants other agencies to model, or our partners out in state, local, territorial, and tribal governments, or critical infrastructure. So I do sit in a unique space, and in recent months, since around February, we've actually brought my office kind of co-dual hatted between the agency overall and directly working for the cybersecurity division. That has enabled some enormous wins, and for my team to better understand what they need to be successful, and also for me to bring some of our ideas in when we're working on binding operational directives or new guidance. We can serve as a proving ground, a test ground, a gut check. When something might come down, I may be like, CIOs aren't going to react really well to that.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing opportunity for us right now at CISA to, I think, lead in a different way. And just going back to that, always a shout out to my team. It's a big team environment. I honestly believe I have the best possible team out there to tackle these problems right now.
It's great to have you on the show, Bob.
Francis, it's always a pleasure.